is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Yeah, it's not an affirmation a man uses in court.
Adapting to a new normal from the coronavirus-induced economic fallout.
We have had quite a busy uptick in our banking and finance lawyers.
I am your lawyer. I am watching and listening.
Will robots take over the profession of lawyers?
I think some of the things that people rely on lawyers for will always be important.
Coming from humble roots, he's worked his way up to now lead one of the world's top law firms.
It's not just having somebody who has the ability and works hard, but having senior supervisors who help to groom and nurture you.
Joining us this week, Milton Cheng, Global Chair of Baker McKenzie, into where the legal industry is heading as the world continues to battle the coronavirus pandemic. Only on Biz Talk. Only on CGTN. Well, welcome everyone to this edition of Biz Talk here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong in Beijing. Today we shine the spotlight on the world of law. We're speaking to the global chair of Baker McKenzie, Milton Cheng. Now, Baker McKenzie is one of the world's biggest legal firms. Milton joins us from Hong Kong. Milton, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you for inviting me for this interview. Always happy to chat with you.
Offices shut, associate programs suspended, layoffs and extended breaks. The pandemic has left no corners of the world economy unscathed. The legal industry is no exception to pandemic-related job losses. In the United States alone, jobs in the legal industry sunk to a 20-year low. So Milton, first off, tell us about the new normal you're seeing in the legal profession, and how is Baker McKenzie dealing with the challenges of operating in this pandemic?
In the past few months, we've been able to transition quite quickly in terms of how we work with our clients. Not only in terms of continuing to do the work for them across borders, across countries, using remote facilities like the ones we're using now, but also going one step further to try and understand and empathize with the challenges that they themselves are facing to try and respond to this crisis.
Now, when it comes to legal needs during the pandemic, are you seeing a hike in counseling through bankruptcies, insolvencies, and labor laws?
At the initial phase of the pandemic, there was quite a lot of need for legal advice on employment law, for example, the obligations that our clients have in terms of looking after their employees and handling the transitions. We've had an uptick also, as you say, in restructuring and insolvency work, in disputes work. These are typical countercyclical practices that we do have. Having said that, clients do want to do things on a more compressed time frame, trying to make sure the due diligence is done quickly and compactly because conditions are changing so quickly.
And of course, the pandemic is leading to a surge in tech and healthcare and distressed merger and acquisitions. Has that translated into more business for Baker McKenzie?
We have a framework for working with our clients on how they will respond to the pandemic. We call it the 3 R's: resilience, recovery, and renewal. Now, this, of course, applies to all businesses, not just to those in the frontline sectors like healthcare and tech. At the early phase of the pandemic, we were helping people to respond to it and understand how it affects their businesses. But we found that many of our clients now have already moved beyond that, now that we've reached a point of stability, to start thinking about how this is going to change how they operate into the future. So our TMT sector colleagues have been very busy providing advisory, structuring work for clients. Our healthcare colleagues have been very busy with a number of our clients, some of whom are working very conscientiously on development of vaccines or seeking licensing and other legal approvals, so that many of our clients are looking and thinking about becoming more ambitious in their plans as well.
So the big four accounting firms have been expanding beyond just tax law these days to more holistic legal offerings. What's your take on increasing competition on that front?
The big four is a credible new entrant to the market, and we do see them as competition. Having said that, we have the critical mass in a broad range of practices, such as tax, such as employment, corporate commercial work, intellectual property. It doesn't leave a door open for big four or other competitors to enter the relationship through other means. In addition to competing with them from time to time, we collaborate with them a lot in many matters where, for example, we are deal counsel or IPO counsel, and they are the auditors or the people who are helping with the compliance of more process aspects.
A bumpy road ahead.
Of other needs and assistance program, major disasters declaration related to the coronavirus disease.
The world straining to find a firmer footing against COVID-19.
4, 3, 2, 1.
The UK joins the brawl over 5G and high-tech disputes, trade frictions, and the US election. What can we expect from this year and the years to come? So Baker McKenzie pioneered the idea of a truly global law firm, but right now globalization is under attack from multiple fronts. What's Baker McKenzie's thinking on that?
We are a global law firm. We are a globalist firm. There will be times when cycles may change and views may differ from one year to the next, and they've always taken a long-term view that being global in your outlook, pursuing a globalist philosophy of free competition and trade and cross-border trade has the long-term benefits.
And you continue to stand by this view despite all the negative headlines that we've been seeing on globalization?
History has shown us that countries fare better when they collaborate. People fare better when they collaborate than when they stand alone. However big your market may be, and whatever might be sort of the current pressures on you at the time. We take a broader long-term view that ultimately the direction will be for more cross-border collaboration eventually.
Coming up next, now having its first Asian global chair, what signals are Baker McKenzie sending?
Certainly, we're long-term bullish on China and the Chinese market, particularly in relation to technology-related industries.
According to the Acritas Global Elite Law Firm Brand Index, Baker McKenzie has been named as the best law firm brand for 10 years in a row. But who would have thought it all started with something as random as a chat in a cab? Co-founders Russell Baker and John McKenzie, two complete strangers, shared a ride back in 1948. Around a year later, the two men made the concept of an international law firm a reality, and Baker McKenzie was founded. Its footprint in China started more than 2 decades ago. Back in 1993, it was the first global law firm to gain an operating license in the Chinese market. Well, Baker McKenzie has a complete plan to participate in the Belt and Road Initiative. How will the firm leverage its expertise and reach in helping clients to navigate through the BRI?
Well, the Belt and Road Initiative is a long-term and a very broad encompassing policy drive of the Chinese government. As with the established presence that we have, the relationships we have with Chinese outbound clients, it positions us well to help companies and infrastructure and other investments finding their way to other parts of the world. Of course, the most important factor from our point of view is the fact that we are strong not only in China, but also in Southeast Asia, where a lot of the investments route through, but also going into Middle East and Africa and Eastern Europe. So our Belt and Road Initiative will continue to get our top management attention.
So despite the pandemic, Milton, China remains committed to further opening up its financial services industry and capital markets. Baker McKenzie advised Huatai Securities on their London GDR listing, which was the first transaction on the Shanghai-London Stock Connect program. What does China's continued financial opening up mean for Baker McKenzie?
The capital markets in China are still not as mature as in some of the other more developed markets like New York and London. So having this ability to tap across borders, just like with London and Shanghai, is a good bridge to help the unicorns and other aspiring growth companies that are coming from China to be able to tap international capital until such time as the Chinese domestic capital markets mature themselves.
And I want to ask you about the rise of Chinese law firms, because by headcount, they actually dominate here in Asia. Do you feel the competition there? Is Baker McKenzie looking at potential mergers or acquisitions here on the Chinese mainland?
Yes, we certainly do feel the competition. The time has since passed, I think, where international firms operating in China could basically just practice international law and still have a lot of talent willing to join them because they felt that they would get good training. Now, I think in many of the large Chinese law firms, all the usual names that you can mention, the type of work that are done by large Chinese law firms, the complexity of the deals, the size and sophistication of their clients matches most of the international firms operating in China. Just over 5 years ago, we made the decision strategically to partner with function partners to create a hybrid platform. I think the next phase is seeing the Chinese firms expand overseas, but certainly into Southeast Asia and into Europe.
Milton, when you were elected to chair Baker McKenzie back in 2019, you became the first Asian partner to head the firm. So what kind of leadership are you expecting to bring?
And what I've tried to deliver against my platform is one of engagement and of unity, and of making sure that our partnership across the world operate as one whole firm team. One of the sort of the secret sauces, the magic of Baker McKenzie, is how we have hundreds of partners from around the world who are close to the market, who are close to the business leaders in these markets, who are looking for opportunities around the world.
So Milton, you were born in Singapore and educated in the United Kingdom. You were also the first in your family to go to university. Now, of course, you're sitting on top of the world of law. So how did you get to where you are today?
A combination of hard work. I think the mentorship that I've had in Baker McKenzie, the culture where it's not just having somebody who has the ability and has worked hard, but having senior supervisors who help to groom and nurture you. I think that's been really, really important for my own development. So I've tried my best, but I've been given a lot of opportunities, and I've been given a lot of guidance and support by many mentors throughout the years.
I've changed the course of my professional life many times over to being in management position, eventually leading Baker McKenzie on a global basis.
She is one of the most prominent global chairs of Baker McKenzie and still serves as a role model to many. In a world where man dominates, Baker McKenzie is aiming to boost its composition of women employees to 40% by the year 2025. And let's talk about Christine Lagarde, Milton, because she is one of the most powerful women in the world, and she chaired Baker McKenzie until 2005. First off, did you work with her? And if so, what was she like as a colleague? And how would you describe her legacy at the firm?
Well, in 2005, when Christine was global chair, I did meet her. I was a much more junior lawyer at the time. She is someone that I greatly admire and respect. I had the opportunity to catch up with her when I stopped by Germany en route to Davos earlier this year, and we had a good chat. She is a role model not just to me, but to many lawyers within our firm, not only the female lawyers, but all lawyers, with her ability to get things done, ability to motivate people to do things, and her clarity of purpose and of principle. She displayed that when she was our global chair, and we're very proud of where she's gone since in the various roles that she's taken on.
So does that mean you're also ready to head the IMF or ECB very soon?
One step at a time. I think my focus now is to make sure that I can help lead our firm through the next few years that might be challenging and come out better and stronger on the other side.
And Baker McKenzie has a significant number of female lawyers and leaders. There was, of course, Christine Lagarde, the former global chair. Explain to us, Milton, why it makes a lot of business sense for women to be more represented in law.
You're absolutely right. Our firm has always cherished and supported inclusion and diversity in all its forms, not just gender diversity, but also socioeconomic, and ethnic, all the other forms of diversity and inclusion. Just for example, in the past year, notwithstanding the economic challenges, we promoted more than 80 colleagues to partner across the world, and more than 40% of them, I'm proud to say, are women. When you look at law school graduates in many countries around the world, they actually make up the majority of law school graduates coming through. So from a talent pipeline perspective, it entirely makes sense. But equally, it's also what our clients expect and want.
And how does motherhood and maternity leave fit into that picture?
There are issues and there are issues. I think a lot of it is showing the flexibility to look beyond, the physical need to be in the office, to adapt. Because, at the end of the day, somebody who is a top quality lawyer doesn't stop becoming a top quality lawyer if they decide to start a family. From a client perspective, if they're used to working with a strong up-and-coming female partner for their business needs, if that partner decides to take some time off or adjust her working hours because of family needs, that oftentimes doesn't mean the client does not like or does not need that professional. So it's really up to us as the firm, as her employer, to make the adjustments so that we can find a way to make it work.
Now, one of your founders, Russell Baker, had a modest upbringing and started the business helping Mexican Americans navigate the legal landscape in the United States. Is that why diversity and inclusion are part of your core values?
Russell Baker, of course, is our sort of pioneer for the whole firm. But the ethos that he brought into the firm has continued through. Our global distributed leadership, our policy committee of about 45 to 50 people, has more than 30 different nationalities. Our partnership, we were doing just a high-level survey once. We probably have a higher proportion of first-generation university goers among our senior leadership than I would say probably most of our global firm competitors. I myself am a first-generation university goer. What does that say to me? It says to me that our firm is one that provides opportunity. We're a firm that provides opportunity for their clients and for their colleagues.
With the dawn of artificial intelligence, how will the world of law evolve? Are fears of being taken over by robots well-founded?
What lawyers use us for is not just your legal expertise in your market, but also your working knowledge and your good ability to translate that cross-culturally and working across multiple borders.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
Innovation is in our DNA.
New technologies, driving change in the legal profession faster than ever before. Working from home, meeting clients virtually, and remote proceedings, all seemingly here to stay. In fact, Baker McKenzie has rolled out machine learning on a global scale as early as 2017, the first of its kind. But will artificial intelligence and machine learning outsmart lawyers and make the legal profession irrelevant? Now, the law profession has in the past lagged other industries in terms of digitizing, but is that all changing now with the pandemic actually accelerating the adoption of digital technologies?
Yes, but it's not a new thing. We had invested quite a lot into upgrading our technology and our ability to work across borders. Many of our officers around the world were able to transition within a space of 2 or 3 days. We also try and make sure that data can be shared through cloud or other technology to our lawyers all around the world. And even beyond technology, we have been investing in business services platforms, legal project management, things like Miro, one of these apps that we're now starting to use, where you can do a virtual whiteboard through remote facilities. So you can continue to have discussions and brainstorming without having to be physically in a room together with a whiteboard.
And are courts going online at the same pace?
Well, we have had some hearings and all that have been conducted online. I think those are still perhaps progressing a little slower than some of our more commercial practices. Certainly in our dispute resolution work, there is a small percentage of it that do go to trial. A large chunk of our dispute resolution work and arbitration work actually involves discussions that find solutions or settlements before they even get to court.
So Milton, in the age of artificial intelligence and smart contracts, are there lawyer skills that you think are becoming increasingly antiquated? What skills and mindsets should the next generation of lawyers have?
What would they need more of? I think some of the things that people rely on lawyers for will always be important, such as your ability to problem solve, your ability to process and understand information, and to make and counsel good judgments in handling of difficult issues. I think in addition to that, for a firm like us, what lawyers use us for is not just your legal expertise in your market, but also your working knowledge and your good ability to translate that cross-culturally and working across multiple borders.
Do you still have to actually memorize the law?
Virtually never these days, to be honest. A lot of it can be pulled up off the internet. But right now, the types of things that the clients come to us for are not just telling them what the law says, but interpreting for them how it helps them to achieve their commercial objectives or to navigate the complexities that they face.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
When you have legal issues, turn to a lawyer.
Did you hear me? Lawyer? Yeah, well, I want to see a lawyer.
Glamorous, sharp, and eloquent, lawyers always seem to find a last-minute way to turn the situation around. Milton, what do you think are the biggest myths about being a lawyer?
One of the biggest myths, at least in today's environment about being a lawyer, is that you can get by being a good lawyer so long as you know the law. Another big myth about being a lawyer is that if you're a good talker, if you're a good debater, you make a good lawyer. Yeah, so when I was coming through as a junior lawyer, there wasn't so much AI, for example. So quite a lot of the things that we, in our initial years, had to try and make sure we're good at was, attention to detail, going through a lot of documents and making sure that we check everything, no typos and all those types of. You'll need your attention to detail, but your focus, I think, has to be more on, again, as I said, problem solving, having more value add and qualitative judgment, and thinking of solutions rather than just assembling information. One thing that is, continues to inspire me, even working with my younger colleagues, is how incredibly our younger generation of up-and-coming Baker McKenzie lawyers can multitask. It took me years to to learn how to multitask well, juggle client work, management leadership work, business development, all those things. Nowadays, these things you see almost intuitively in our younger generation. I think if we can harness that and put that to good use, we will all do very well. But I think the key thing to being a lawyer is to be able to actually understand and analyze what your clients want and problem solve. A lot of it is in problem solving rather than just knowing technical law or just arguing very loudly. Finding a way to achieve a client's commercial objectives is really what it's about being a lawyer.
Well, there are so many movies and TV series about legal eagles, and we tend to think of a lawyer as high-flying, as powerful, argumentative, and on top of that, of course, wearing a spiffy suit. Are all of those stereotypes true?
There are a lot of lawyers in the world, and I think that describes a percentage of some of them. Yes, I think there are lawyers that are very glamorous in spiffy suits. I think the vast majority of them are more regular people. I said before to someone I was chatting to that I'm a regular guy with regular interests, but doing a very unusual and interesting and challenging job.
So Milton, who do you admire as one of the greatest lawyers or legal professionals in history?
I mean, there's many I could count. I would say Russell Baker. Now, the thing about it, you have to keep in mind that when he started doing what he was doing, it was a greenfield. Nobody had ever thought of building a global law firm. The fact that he had that vision and he had the not just the grit and determination, but the organizational savvy to think how to build it out. I think it's inspirational for me and for those who know of the story of how a firm was built.
And Milton, finally, before we let you go, what's your vision or ambition for Baker McKenzie, say 5 to 10 years into the future?
To put it simply, it's to fully leverage our incredibly global platform. I think for us to be a truly global law firm, we will be working with our clients in the relevant sectors across all of the major export markets around the world, bringing an ability to help them not just solve global scale complexities, not just technical complexities, but also the local cultural complexities that come. We will have a workforce that is incredibly diverse, but not just diverse in its composition, but diverse in its thinking. It seems like a very broad, high aspiration, but we already have the seeds, we already have the momentum as Baker McKenzie to do that. And it's something that I think will have a lasting place in the legal services sector, no matter what changes in the short or medium term in the global economy.
Well, Milton, it was certainly a pleasure speaking to you today. Hope to catch up with you again very soon. And that's our conversation there with Milton Cheng, Global Chair of Baker McKenzie, taking us through a fascinating journey into the world of law. And that's going to do it for this edition of Biz Talk here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong in Beijing. We'll see you again next week.